Hello and welcome to episode 145 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three different continents share in one love, and that is video games. On today's show, the Xbox handheld might be coming later this year. The Last of Us 3 is confusing fans all over the globe, and in honor of Assassin's Creed Shadows finally coming out next week, we decided it was time we would put on our film bro hats and we will be reviewing 2016's Assassin's Creed movie. But before we get to all that, let me introduce myself and my two friends here on the screen or in your ears if you're listening on podcast services. My name is Klein Felt, and alongside me today are two of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, it is the digital art and daredevil himself, ready for vacation. We've got vacation mode, Tom Drew here. Tom, you haven't said anything, but I can just tell you're so much more relaxed right now. You're going to have a cool drink in your hand pretty soon. How's it going?
I'm gonna have a cup of blue milk and a cookie, and it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I'm going to Florida next week, so I will be at Disney World. I'll be going to Galaxy's Edge. I will be riding Rise of the Resistance, and I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun. Yeah, I just feel like I can't wait to get over there and just experience all of it because I've never been to a Disney World or Disneyland or whatever in America. So it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
I'm glad you added the modifier there. Never been to a Disneyland or world in America because
Yeah.
Tom Drew, I have been. Lauren and I, both of us have been to a Disneyland slash world with you, but it was just over in Paris. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Next up, it is journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad, freshly fueled Lauren Rouse. Lauren, what were you eating before we got on here today?
Wow, exposing me to the audience that I was not properly prepared for the podcast. I was eating breakfast, so we won't be disclosing what time we're recording this. But so yeah, typical breakfast is bit of granola, some of this like probiotic milk, yogurt, whatever you call it, and usually some form of fruit. Today it was a banana. So yeah, good to go.
Sounds good. Nutritious. How are you doing? Are you doing well?
I'm doing well. I also have tea. Perfect breakfast comes with tea. Yeah, but those none of those things are gaming related.
No, that is not why we are here. We are not here to talk about Lauren's granola habits. We're here to talk about video games. So let's get into it with our news, with the news we choose. Tom Drew, give us that intro.
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
Tom, because you're going on vacation, I'm going to make you put in some work before you go here. So you can go first. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah, so I'm talking about how the Invincible game that's in the works at Skybound Games has gone a little update recently, and this comes from Cameron Frew at Dexerto. In an interview with Dexerto before the Season 3 finale, Dexerto asked if Robert Kirkman had any updates about the Invincible game, and Robert Kirkman is the creator of Invincible and works on the show as well. And he said, quote, "I don't know what I can say. I think it's definitely in the works. It's definitely cool. I don't even know if I can say how much I've seen. I'm going to play it safe and just say, from what I've seen, I'm more excited than I've been about anything involving Invincible. So for some context, Skybound Games is developing this AAA title, which they've described it as. And they previously worked on the final two episodes of The Walking Dead, the final season, following the closure of Telltale Games. They closed and all their games were kind of in the flurry, so Skybound Games came in and picked up the baton basically with that one. This wouldn't be the first game inspired by Invincible as a franchise, with the mobile game Invincible Guarding the Globe releasing in 2023. So not like a huge amount to go off here, but it's exciting that this is on the way. I think the thing that is exciting fans for the most part is that for the longest time, everyone's been wanting a Superman game. And Invincible has a lot of the same powers as Superman. He's got the super strength, he can fly. So people are wondering, like, is this going to finally satiate that need for a Superman game? Because it feels like we're not going to get that anytime soon. Rocksteady's gone back to Batman. So maybe this is the thing that will fill that void if it eventually comes out. But are we excited for the prospects of this game coming out? Lauren, I'll jump to you. Does this excite you at all?
At first, I wasn't too interested until you said the Superman thing, because you're right. Depending on how they make Invincible playable, could be like very, very appealing. I'm quite intrigued by the style because, Invincible is an animated show. It looks kind of like it's straight out of a comic book. If this was like the same but transposed into a game, maybe with some like, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm sure it's been done, maybe in like Hi-Fi Rush, those kinds of like that kind of style. I think could really work. I think it could be really fun. And then I did kind of, I think, almost allude to how, because it's from the Skybound team who we said did a lot of Telltale games, so we could maybe assume it might be more narrative driven or choice based. And if that's the case, I feel like it might bear some similarities to Dispatch, which I brought up last week, which was again a kind of like superhero for hire comic book narrative driven story with like just a lot of great voice actors, which is basically what Invincible is as well. They have like this great repertoire of voice actors on the show and guest stars and things like that. So I'd be interested to see if that has any similarity, if they have any similarities with each other. But if they could make the gameplay for Invincible very satisfying, it could be good.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like AAA doesn't necessarily mean like third-person action adventure game. It could be like it could be anything. Like, and I do think like that is a good point. Like Invincible as a franchise, if you're not familiar with it, there is some like without getting too much into spoilers, there is some like multiversal elements to it, especially with season 2 and 3, that you could explore with a choice-based narrative, and you could explore like what if Invincible decided to do this and went down this path, or what if he decided to do something else, or what if like other characters had different choices in the show. So I think there's a lot of different ways they could do that, especially like you said with the narrative. That is exciting. Yeah, I just hope that like if they do this, like they do stick to that like cell shaded kind of style that like a Hi-Fi Rush popularized, or like just being able to play that basically what this you see in the show and the comic in a game. I think would just be really really cool. And there's loads of it's funny, like I think Invincible as a character would be fun, but even like other characters like Atom Eve, who is like very has a lot of different powers. Like I think her as a playable character would be pretty cool. Like you could do some creative stuff with that, or yeah, any of the other heroes in the show. But Klein, does this pique your interest at all?
It does. I'm such a big Invincible fan only because of the TV show. Like I have since wanted to go back and read some of the comics, but like the TV show has been awesome. I've kept up with it week to week since it started. Right now I am like for the first time in its entire run, 1 or 2 episodes behind, so I do need to catch up and finish it. But I would love a video game. I think that this world is so cool. Robert Kirkman's Invincible universe is really unique, and it's kind of a fun play on the superhero genre without being like satirical, or I guess like tongue-in-cheek, I guess, like something like The Boys is. And so I think this could be fun to like see what they could do with like playing around with like genre and medium, and like kind of do what they did with comic books and now do what they're doing with like animated series in a video game where like it's kind of aware of being a video game. I would be really interested in that. We've got a lot of Invincible coming up because we have this, we have more of the animated show. There's still the live action movie happening. It's like there's a lot of this franchise, which I think is really cool. I'd be interested to see what Skybound can do, because I would say like the last couple episodes of Walking Dead and the Walking Dead game as a whole, like eventually made it to like closer to AAA, but I don't know if I would consider it like AAA on the scale that I think they're talking about here. So I want to know, what does that mean for this game, and how big, how ambitious are we talking? Like, is it going to be Marvel Spider-Man, like, but just with Invincible in it? That's it. That seems like a big ask, but I'm ready to be proved that they can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it'll be interesting to see like whether they can, step up to the task and bring this thing to the thing that everyone's hoping it to be. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out. One before we move on to the next news topic, one quick question I want to ask you guys. We've got this Invincible game. We've got other like IPs now, like desperately trying to get into games. Like we got the Ninja Turtles one based off the Last Ronin on the way, and a bunch of others. Is there any IP of any kind that you would want to see turned into a game? I'll give you guys some time to think. And I think I might have talked about this before, and it's very on brand for me, but I would love, this is never going to happen, but I'd love a AAA Bionicle game. I would love to play like a game just set in the Bionicle universe. They've done games in the past, and they are good, but they're not like just bringing that into the modern era. I think would be really fun because there's so many cool characters, so many cool locales, designs. You have different elemental Toa, like who are the heroes of the game, and you could do different powers with that. I just think it would be really sick. So, but Klein, is there any IP that jumps to mind for you?
I think that a like basically Hogwarts Legacy, but in the Airbender universe would be
Oh,
just like
yeah,
10 out of 10. I'm
yeah,
surprised that hasn't happened yet. Like I think that that is one of those names that I think has the cachet to get something like that funded, and I'm surprised we have not gotten the like definitive Airbender RPG.
yeah. 'Cause I feel like we have heard like there are rumblings of something based on, like a game based on Avatar at the moment. We don't really know what it could be, but yeah, like setting it like framing it in that kind of Hogwarts Legacy kind of thing where you get to pick, or maybe you just you guess you're just the Avatar, and then you can like learn different abilities. That'd be really cool. Lauren, is there anything that jumps to you?
This is such a broad question. I feel like we could
Yeah, I'm
do an
sorry. I
entire
should have prepped.
conversation on it. Weirdly, a lot of my favorite things are kind of already games. So I'm sure there's one that I'm forgetting. I think, but for right now, I'm picking. I think probably like just a really cool open world Game of Thrones game. Like I just want a game where I can like fly a dragon or like have a direwolf companion and like go around and explore the kingdoms of Westeros. I think that would be really cool.
And do the whole like consequence and choice thing that a
Yeah.
lot of great RPGs do, because that world is rife for that, where like you can craft your own like internal politics, and sure it may not line up 100% with like canon, I guess. Like
Mm.
Telltale did a Game of Thrones game years ago that it was like you are the leader of some new house that's just like shown up, and
Yeah.
you're dealing with everybody. I'm also surprised that Game of Thrones is something that hasn't been taken advantage of like in that way. Obviously, over the last couple of weeks, we've done news stories here on the show where Warner Brothers is like really wanting to lean into its IP, and Game of Thrones is one of those things. So I think you're going to get your wish sooner rather than later, Lauren. It's just a matter of like, does it is it good when it does ultimately come out?
Yeah, I think if they had even like a faction based system, like kind of like Star Wars Outlaws did, even though that didn't work to like the best effect, I think that's kind of the direction it would need to go to have like the political machinations that Game of Thrones is known for.
Yeah, and the Nemesis system, just throw it in.
Yes.
I feel like this tailor
It's
made
just
for a
sitting
game
there.
like that. Yeah, why not?
Invincible. It's going to come. It'll come soon. I'm excited. Speaking of being excited, guys, there's new Xbox hardware seemingly on the horizon. This is from Jez Corden at Windows Central. New Xbox hardware has, I guess, technically leaked. Microsoft is working with a PC gaming OEM, so think companies like Asus, Lenovo, MSI, Razer, etc., on a Xbox branded gaming handheld, surprisingly slated for later in 2025 if plans are met. Codenamed Keenan, or Kenan, I've seen going around as well. This gaming handheld will look unmistakably Xbox, we're told, complete with an official Xbox guide button, the Xbox design sensibilities. Given that this is a partner device, though, similar to Lenovo's SteamOS partnership with Valve, I expect this handheld to be more PC-oriented. Keenan is almost definitely running full Windows, putting the Microsoft Store and PC Game Pass front and center, alongside the ability to install things like Steam. Our sources also indicate that Microsoft's internal successor to the Xbox Series X/S has been fully greenlit all the way up to CEO Satya Nadella. For now, I understand that Microsoft's next-gen hardware plans to include a premium successor to the powerful Xbox Series X alongside its own Xbox gaming handheld, separate from this partner one, as well as several new controller options. Tentatively, these new console devices are slated for 2027. So there's a lot in there because we kind of have three devices that have been talked about. This 2025 partner handheld that will essentially be like, hey, Razer is making an Xbox handheld. We have the new Xbox, next generation Xbox, that is coming in 2027. It seems they're ready to leave Series S/X behind. And a Xbox created handheld. So I don't know where you guys want to go with this. I'll just kind of throw it to you because there's a lot to chew on here. Lauren, you have the Xbox Series S amongst the three of us. You're the only one with Xbox hardware. Does all of this excite you?
Well, of the three things that you've described, it's the Xbox branded handheld that interests me the most. Mainly because I was even just thinking about it when this news came out that, like, if I didn't have to have moved my Xbox Series S across the world, like, if I could send it back and swap it for like a smaller handheld, like, I would do that right now. So the idea that like potentially the next generation of consoles isn't like the bigger, beefier like boxes, it's actually going smaller and more compact to potentially rival something like the Switch or the Steam Deck makes sense to me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation comes out and goes, actually, the PS6 is a PS Portal, or maybe they start releasing consoles alongside handhelds in the same generation, and you can use one or the other. But yeah, if there's something out there that lets me play the Xbox games in a handheld mode that I don't need to like carry my brick around for, that would be very useful. Because I think particularly like for Xbox, it's not exactly like the hardware that I care about. It's the software, it's the games. I'm really only getting it because of these exclusive games that they have and potentially fit for Game Pass and things like that. So if you can package that in a smaller way that I can take with me, perfect. But you know, we've talked about it with the PlayStation Portal. It can't just be that. It can't just be Wi-Fi enabled or streaming enabled. It needs to have something in it like the Steam Deck that you can store games and play them like physically on your handheld and not just rely on a Wi-Fi connection.
I have a feeling that that's what it's going to be, especially with this like PC gaming OEM handheld that's expected later this year. Like, this really does sound like it's going to be an Xbox branded like portable PC, which to me sounds great. Being able to, the big thing missing, I think, for a lot of people on something like a Steam Deck is Game Pass. And so people have been wondering, is Game Pass going to come to Steam at one point? Xbox is really trying to get their services everywhere. And what better way to do that than, hey, we have this Xbox branded gaming handheld that's coming out this year. We have our own that's going to be coming in a couple years as well. But if you want to play your Game Pass games on the go, this is going to be the number one place to do it. And I think that's going to sell a lot of people, because there's been, I don't know, I think there's been some Xbox gamers who are sitting at home playing their Xbox games, loving it, and then going, well, I now have to go over to my Steam library, which I don't maybe have as many games on with my Steam Deck when I go on the plane or the bus or the car or whatever. But being able to now just like have this thing, you have it, you can just download stuff onto it from your Game Pass, play Halo, play all the stuff that's on there. I think it sounds like pretty great. I don't know if people make the jump because I don't know how many people made the jump to the Series X/S. So it'll
Well,
be
what's the
interesting
big
to see.
differentiator between this OEM one and the potential Xbox one? Like, literally,
Honestly,
what's the difference?
it's getting it out, I think. And I wouldn't
Do
be
we think
surprised.
like the Xbox One might look kind of like the PlayStation, where it's like you have a DualSense controller essentially. You have like an Xbox controller as the handles, and maybe this other one doesn't have that. Does the Steam Deck have a dock?
You can plug it in to a
Okay,
TV.
that would be a vital function.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I don't know what the difference of these two things are, and that's like the big question here is what is these two handhelds? Why? And if you are Razer, Asus, Lenovo, whoever's making this one that's supposed to come out later this year, where's your head at knowing that, oh, like this hardware manufacturer we partnered with is making one of their own 2 years from now? Like, it's not the first time stuff like that has happened. I remember like years ago there was like a Panasonic GameCube that could play DVDs, and so Nintendo licensed out the hardware to someone else to make that. There was Sega Genesis TVs where the console was built right in the television. So it's not the weirdest thing in the world to see them go to these other manufacturers, but it is like, I don't know, if I was Lenovo or Razer or whoever, I'm sitting here going like, well then why'd you sign the deal with us if you're just going to go make your own? Tom, I'll let you jump in here. Are you as like confused by that particular part of this as I am?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I just from a business standpoint, it does make it's just a strange decision to kind of splinter things off because especially if they release this OEM device and people really love it, then what is kind of the point of then releasing like your own gaming handheld? I guess it's to maybe get more of your own revenue from this like one thing because you've developed it in house. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it's just a whole. It'll be interesting to see how they handle this because like
It seems very
to
Microsoft, like, just in general, because this is what they do with their computers
yeah,
too,
true.
right? Like, they license it out to the other manufacturers, and every once in a while, they're like, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna make Surface Books as well." But, like,
Yeah.
you can buy other Windows machines.
Yeah, which so that is a good point, but I wonder if that works in like a gaming like landscape. Yeah, I'm just not sure because like I mean to me like when we were in the heyday of handhelds and home consoles, there was always like a disparity between like handhelds were always like less powerful and you went to the home console for the more power. That's very different now. Like you can get pretty powerful handhelds obviously. But I do wonder by like splintering this of being like we have this one SKU which is just home console, which is probably more powerful, and then you have a gaming handheld, which is less powerful. Are they gonna have to make compromises about what games that are available on those platforms potentially, or will they just be able to make like less demanding versions of those games to fit those like handhelds? I this might not be completely accurate, but I remember reading somewhere about like developers not loving Xbox because they have to like not only do like an Xbox Series X version, but a less powerful or less demanding Xbox Series S version. And I wonder if that's just kind of repeating that issue by having like you know two different things again. It makes more sense this way because I feel like at least with less power you get the trade-off of having a handheld thing, which appeals to me because like I think that would potentially get me on board. But yeah, I almost wish like if they were going to do handheld, they almost were like, okay, let's just go all in on this thing and see if we can make it work. But I mean, maybe they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. But yeah, it's just a strange thing. If it works out, it could be really cool. But um, I hope for their sake, at least like the main takeaway for me is that like the Switch has been on top for so long, and that's great because I love the Switch. But it's nice to see at least someone else trying potentially and seeing if they can get into that market share a little bit.
Of these 3 devices, I'll throw us the 2 of you, and then we can move on. Of these 3 devices, which is the one that you would be most likely to swipe the card for and actually bring home?
Hmm. Probably I say the like the dedicated gaming handheld that like, Xbox is developing on their own, but also at the same time like having a device with Steam on it is kind of like tempting if it does enable that with this OEM because there's so many Steam games that I want to play, I just don't have access to it. So that would be cool, but I think in my heart of hearts it would probably be that Xbox gaming handheld.
I think similar. Like I mentioned, I'm in the handheld era at this point just because of how mobile my life is.
I want to see the new like console. I want to see the new box. They've touted that it's going to be the most powerful jump in like gaming power since forever, and so I'm interested to see what it is. Like I am a console gamer first, so that's kind of where my heart lies. But it'll be fascinating to see. It doesn't feel like we're coming up towards the end of the generation, but I guess like it's going to be 7 years, I guess, in 2027. That's like,
Well, that's the other thing, the 7-year cycle. Like, how do we
yeah.
feel about that? Right? I assume PlayStation will probably aim for the same with whatever it chooses to
Yeah,
release as a competitor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
kind of upsetting. Kind of upsetting
I
to
know.
think about. To be honest.
Look, we
It's
just
that
got
whole
here.
I know.
Yeah.
Was it 2020 was when these
Yeah.
consoles launched? It was right
Yeah.
at like the right in the heart of the pandemic, and it
Mm.
doesn't feel like we've gotten any games. Like we
Yeah.
have, there have been some, but it has felt
Because
kind of
games are
thin.
taking longer. So
Mhm.
usually it's like you might get a studio that's like one per platform now, whereas previously it was maybe a couple. So, like, I mean, are console generations too short?
I don't know.
Or do they mean anything at all anymore if like these things are just turning into PCs, right? Is it like, okay, is this going to, are we going to get more consoles soon? Or is this going to turn like the iPhone thing where every 2 years it's just like, okay, here's the most updated PlayStation, most updated Xbox, and hey, when yours starts to like hit its last legs, just jump in.
I mean, possibly even in the last, in this generation, we've seen like the PlayStation Slim, the PlayStation Pro. There are like multiple versions of the PlayStation kind of being released per generation. So maybe it will get to that point.
One game that will not hit this generation is The Last of Us 3. Lauren, you have our last story of the week.
Yes, another week, another time that I'm going to talk about The Last of Us. But basically, in the last, just over 10 days, there's been these two conflicting pieces of information about a potential The Last of Us Part 3. So the first one was in an interview with The Variety on the 5th of March. Neil Druckmann, who's the director of, I think he's actually the co-CEO of Naughty Dog at this point, but directed The Last of Us games, is the showrunner on the TV show. He was quoted saying, "I guess the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of Last of Us. This could be it." And so it's worth pointing out that in the Grounded documentary for The Last of Us Part 2, which came out, I think, early last year, Neil said in that documentary, quote, "I don't have a story, but I do have a concept that to me is its own thing, yet has this through line for all three. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to this story." So at that point in time, rumors were already circulating about, cool, there's going to be a third Last of Us game. Neil's got the idea. They're probably working on it. But then this quote came out with him saying, "Don't bet on it." And then, I think it was earlier this week, only a few days ago, industry insider Daniel Rickman reported that Naughty Dog is in advanced production on The Last of Us Part 3 and has already cast actors and filmed scenes for it. So, who do we believe in this scenario? Are they making Part 3? Is Neil lying just to throw us off the scent? They're also making Intergalactic, which they announced at the end of last year. Naughty Dog's never really, they've had, I think, two teams running concurrently when it was Uncharted and The Last of Us. Do we now think that it's Intergalactic and The Last of Us as their two main priorities? What do you guys think? Tom, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, who do you believe, Neil a couple of days ago, or Neil a few years ago, or this other guy? Basically, it's tough because, like, yeah, there is a chance that Neil's just saying, like, yeah, don't bet on it, like, we don't want to make any promises. But I feel like if you were talking about this game, you would be a bit more cagey about it. You'd be like, I don't know, maybe it'll happen one day. Who knows? Especially if you have talked about like a concept or a season, not season 3, or like a part 3. Yeah, maybe it's done. That sounds upsetting to say. I think like, but like you said, like if there are two internal teams at Naughty Dog, what is the other team working on? Like I guess maybe another Uncharted, maybe something else, maybe Jack and Daxter. Yeah, I'm very conflicted on this. Like, I don't know how much I buy into like insider scoops. Like sometimes they could be real, sometimes they can't be. We don't really know like if that has any bearing. It could be like that could even be like they're testing out like things that could potentially be a part 3, and just seeing how like those like turn out and seeing if that can like blossom into an actual like production for part 3. I'm hoping that part 3 is real, but I also don't want to get my hopes up at the same time.
What do you think, Klein?
I don't know what to think, honestly. Like, there was a time where I was very in tune with what Naughty Dog was doing, and that was like probably Uncharted 3, Last of Us one time, and I remember it being a big deal that it was like, okay, we are splitting into two teams, and we're gonna have two sets of directors, and all of this. And then Amy Hennig left, and they moved from Last of Us to Uncharted 4, and I think that's when they combined everything again. And I think since then they've kind of had one team but had people working on other projects at different points, because like we have to remember, for a long time a good portion of this Naughty Dog office was working on the Last of Us multiplayer until very recently. We've also been working on, I say as if I'm part of Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog has also been working on, and just cheer for the home team, they've also been working on Intergalactic there was also that interview that Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann had this week with Alex Garland. Yes. And he talked about saying that Intergalactic's been in the works since 2020. So like, even if there was more than one like big team at the studio, I don't know if there's enough people to be working on the Last of Us multiplayer game, Intergalactic, and a third Last of Us. What I think may have happened is during the like kind of very early Intergalactic talks. What are we doing after Last of Us Part 2? They maybe came up with the idea for The Last of Us Part 3, started to move down that road a little bit, maybe hit something and went, you know what? Let's go and we're feeling more passionate. We're going to go this direction for right now. I think we get a Last of Us Part 3 at some point. I do not think it's currently in the works. But I could be proven wrong because Naughty Dog has a lot of people. They are not the plucky Crash Bandicoot studio anymore. They are not the same team that made Jak and Daxter. Like it is like they're a ecosystem in and of themselves. But I'm also I'm just, as we were talking, just like looking over on the internet, looking on Reddit, looking wherever, and like people are finding there's a bunch of people all with the same job titles, like director, co-director at Naughty Dog. It's like, okay, well, how many directors or co-directors can be working on a single game? It's very confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was the part of the rumor that was like in advanced production that threw me off.
What does
Because I
that
could
mean?
see that they're
Yeah.
filming scenes and have cast actors apparently. Which it can, as we know, takes a really long time to do these things. Actors will be in and out on jobs for years on video games, so it may not mean anything. I am a theory person, so I think that it's happening. I think Neil is a great liar and is out there trying to throw us off. I think he's just trying to level expectations because the thing is, like, they talked about The Last of Us multiplayer, it never happened. So maybe he wants to be like, don't bet on it happening because it may not. Maybe it won't work. And I think that's just kind of where they want to leave it. But I do think it's happening, like you said, Klein, that Last of Us multiplayer team, they had to work on something. And I think it would be an easy jump for them to go from that to the same IP and like move on to whatever The Last of Us 3 is going to be. The quote that Neil said from the Grounded documentary was filmed back in 2020, I think, like, you know, around the time of the game or shortly after. I don't know, his post-show interview might have been later, but he said he had the idea basically. So whether that idea ever came to fruition, we don't know. But I think it's happening, and potentially, you know, we see what Sony's doing at some of the other studios, like Insomniac is a machine unto itself. They can push out, like, it seems like they have multiple teams running and they're pushing out games alternating, and maybe that's what Sony wants Naughty Dog to do as well. So they are going back to that split team approach. Don't know. Could just be like, yeah, a new evolution of the studio. But maybe it's just the optimist in me. Maybe it's just because I want it to happen, but I think it's happening.
Do you think that Neil Druckmann is directing The Last of Us 3, if this is the case? Like, or is this a like Cory Barlog with God of War Ragnarok, where he's like, he oversees it, but he was not, they had someone else direct that game?
I think Neil's definitely overseeing at this point because he's got a finger in Intergalactic. He'll have a finger in The Last of Us. He may have written it. I think he could have, but they also have, you know, Hallie Gross was a writer with him on the second one. Maybe she's taking on more duties there. Craig could be in on it. I don't know. But he's obviously very busy with the TV show as well and being the studio head. So I think he's probably more at like an executive producer level at this point, and he's got people beneath him who are handling like the really deep stuff on the game.
It sounds like, at least from the like interviews he's been doing about Intergalactic, that he is a little more hands-on. Like he was very, very involved from the top down, and maybe isn't directing it, but like that is his priority right now.
I think so too, but it also like, well, if Last of Us 3 is in advanced production, what is Intergalactic in? Like super advanced production? Because surely that's got to be further along the line. We've seen trailers.
Yeah, but we have seen trailers, but like, I don't know. I could see them wanting a longer runway for Intergalactic. Like, you can announce The Last of Us tomorrow and have it released in 3 months, and like, you don't need to promote that game, really.
Yeah.
It could be like the biggest surprise of the century. But the way I'm seeing it is I think that Intergalactic will come out on this generation. I reckon it'll be, I don't know, 26, 27. And then Last of Us Part 3 will be the next console.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I liked some of the
Planting a
quotes he had
flag.
about Intergalactic as well. There's like talking about this, I didn't realize the whole religion stuff that's involved in that game. This sounds cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, not controversial at all.
No, especially knowing how the internet has taken Neil Druckmann's just like general presence for quite a long time. That's gonna be it for the news we choose. Tom Drew, can we get that outro?
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
Now we slink into the shadows. We put up the hoods. And we hop from high places into bales of hay because we are going to be talking about the Assassin's Creed movie. You might be wondering, guys, it's 2025. Why are we talking about a 9-year-old film? Well, because we are less than, at this point, as we're recording, less than a week away from Assassin's Creed Shadows finally coming out. It was delayed out of 2024. We were thinking about maybe doing this back then, but now that it's coming, we thought we would do it. In honor of that, we will be reviewing the Assassin's Creed movie. Now, if you don't know, I don't know where you're listening to this part of the podcast, but if you don't know, the Assassin's Creed movie was released in 2016. It is a historical science fiction action film based on the video game franchise published by Ubisoft, directed by Justin Kurzel, who I remember at the time, it was very exciting he was doing this because he did a acclaimed adaptation of Macbeth featuring Michael Fassbender as well. So there was some pedigree behind this, starring Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, Jeremy Irons, Brendan Gleeson, Charlotte Rampling, and my guy, oh my gosh, what's his name? Michael K. Williams from The Wire, just here as well. The film is set in the same universe as the video games, but features an original story that expands the series' mythology. The plot revolves around Callum Cal Lynch, played by Fassbender, who is abducted by the Abstergo Foundation because of his assassin's heritage. Cal's ancestor, Aguilar de Nurha, was a member of the Assassin Brotherhood, a fictional organization inspired by the real-life Order of Assassins, active during the Spanish Inquisition in the late 15th century, who swore to protect the Apple of Eden, an artifact believed to contain the key to humanity's free will. Cal must accept his assassin's heritage and stop Abstergo, the Templar order of the modern day, from finding the apple and using it to enslave humanity. Guys, general thoughts before we get into spoilers here. What did we think? Actually, first, have we seen this movie before? And then what do we think about Assassin's Creed here in 2025? Lauren Rouse, have you seen the Assassin's Creed movie before?
I have seen it before, but I distinctly remember like falling asleep in it because I think I watched it on a DVD at home one night and just fell asleep. Can't say that I gave it much more attention this time either. But yes, I'll let you guys talk and then we can get into thoughts.
Okay, Tom Drew, have you seen this movie before and general feelings?
No, I've not seen it before. I remember when it came out, and I was really excited to see it. And then I saw the reviews, and I was like, oh, maybe I won't see this movie. And yeah, I have to say, coming back to it now, those reviews are warranted. This is Assassin's Creed. This is a lot of ass. This sucks. It was so bland and boring. We'll get into it in more detail, but yeah, I struggled to find much good to say about it. I don't think it's like a god awful movie by any means, but it's. I also don't feel like I have that much even to say, which is bad for a podcast because we have to talk about it now. But yeah, it was just not great. Not great, was it?
For reference, the movie has 19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh wow!
I
didn't even look.
That's tough. That is tough.
What's Borderlands at?
I was going to ask, do we think it's better than Borderlands?
I do, metric. But I think that this movie...
Borderlands has 10.
I think it's better than Borderlands, but what I will say that might be very, like, the most damning thing you could say about this film is that I may have enjoyed, like, I think that this is a better movie, full stop, than Borderlands. I may have enjoyed Borderlands more. I didn't enjoy Borderlands very much at all, simply because it had an identity. It had, like, personality. I think that this film, one of the worst things I can say about it is that it is so just, like, unidentifiable. Like, it's like it has no personality at all. It is so generic, I think, is like ultimately the word will come down to. Everything's just kind of gray, and they're in this like weird gray building the whole time, and we get some cool assassin sequences, and that's kind of it. I haven't seen this movie before. I've played a lot of the Assassin's Creed games. I was very much looking forward to this movie when it was coming out, and it's kind of been a white whale for me for a while because I have like I've actually wanted to see if it was as bad as it was. I don't necessarily think it's as bad as some people make it out to be, but it's definitely not great. I There are moments that I enjoyed for sure. I think the reason I didn't see it in theaters was because this would have been like Christmas time 2016, and that would have been right in the middle of college. Come home for Christmas, went to see a movie that Christmas season, and it was probably Rogue One. And I think Rogue One beat out Assassin's Creed as the one movie I saw that Christmas break. So it's
Great
ultimately
decision.
just, yeah, I think I won that one. It's ultimately just like not the best, but we're going to dive into why we believe that. Where do we want to start here? Do we want to start? Is there any, Tom, you said there's nothing good. You can't think of anything good that you enjoyed from this film?
Well, the one point I've written down here, and it's in the good
Yeah.
and the bad, is that I fell asleep.
Oh
like,
no!
like Lauren
Did
said
you go
that she
back?
fell asleep. I did go back.
Okay.
But it was like, and for reference, it was like right at the end of the movie. So I didn't like miss that much really. I missed like the very end. We're in spoiler territory now. When what's his name? Cal. Yeah, Cal. When Cal kills Jeremy Irons' character, I just missed that whole bit. And then I woke up and they were standing on a rooftop, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is how the movie ends." It was good because it was a nice little snooze. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's bad just because I woke up and I'd missed all that bit, and that's like the climax of the movie. Like that's the final kind of big moment, and I just felt nothing. Like I felt like I had missed anything at all. Yeah, I think the thing that I want to talk about with this movie, and it's the thing that they talked about, when this movie came out, is the fact that we spend so much time in the modern day. Like basically
It's a
all of
modern
the
day
movie.
movie with
Yeah.
with a couple, like 3, maybe 4 historical sequences. One of which opens the film in kind of like a cool but like kind of weird bit of storytelling.
Yeah, it is a strange way to open it. I thought when that started, I was like, okay, this could be cool. They're saying the thing from the game about how nothing is
We are
true and everything's
assassins.
committed. We're assassinos. Like I thought, okay, that maybe they are committing to this thing.
We protect the light by hiding in the darkness.
I hearing that said out loud is a bit goofy, but I did like it.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I feel like the problem is you keep going back to the past and you just don't really have any kind of one. You don't have any emotional attachment to Aguilar because you don't really get any kind of sit down scenes with him. It's all action. Um, Two, he's gonna be fine for the most part because you're going back in time. So you're reliving these things and it's not going anywhere. And three, like yes, action scenes like it's cool, but for some aspect of it. But yeah, like you aren't delving into this world that is way more interesting, at least to me, than the modern day stuff. Like I think it was a really cool idea that they did decide to do. Okay, we're going to do a completely new assassin and set it in Spain, which they haven't really. Ezio was set in Italy, so this is a completely new locale, and I thought that was like a really smart idea because you can do anything with the Assassin's Creed franchise, but like they just don't take advantage of it, and I feel like that was a massive shame.
Like, here's the thing, as someone who's played many Assassin's Creed games, and I'm sure most of Assassin's Creed fans can attest to, like, it's kind of a running joke that the Abstergo storyline is like, you just want to skip it because you want to get to the cool part where you're like in this ancient world and you get to play as an assassin and like do missions and kill people and all this kind of stuff and explore these historical places. So for them to be like, let's forget that and set it all in the Abstergo world is just crazy to me. Like, if you wanted to do, I guess, like a conspiracy thriller where it's like we're going into this company that's like harvesting people for their genetic material and like using their memories and stuff, there's a world, there's room for that. It's not an adaptation of this video game
I
because
think
the
that
majority of
there's some cool
Assassin's
ideas with that though. Like the passing back and forth of like it being this the ultimately like the past version of them is like it's like an Indiana Jones movie if Indiana Jones was like communing with himself 400 years ago and like giving you like the clues, like I can see where the idea worked on film because it doesn't work in the games, but I could see here where it would. It doesn't though.
But it's like, why do that? Like, because as an Assassin's Creed fan, like I would rather they didn't have, like, why did we have the Abstergo storyline to begin with? Why couldn't it just be like, okay, this time we're following this assassin and they're doing this thing? Like the fact that they had and they've kept to it this storyline in the present day where it's like we've got to track the Apple of Eden and this and that, and like in the modern games, like in Odyssey and Valhalla, it gets really crazy. Like I don't understand why they thought that was the most interesting part of the movie, and in the games to this day, like why they still persevere with it. I'm like, just let us be assassins in different time periods, like an anthology. It works.
It's confusing to me why it's I don't like this assassin. I want to know. I want to see a pie chart. How much time are we really spending with the assassin in this Assassin's Creed movie? Because it's not a lot.
No, it really isn't. And like the thing is, as well, is that
And the best
like,
moments in the movie are when we are. Like, I'll say that. I think some of the action in this film is cool. The one sequence where you're with the assassin, who I'm forgetting his name, but you're in Spain and you're with, I guess, Marion Cotillard as well. This female assassin that is given no character development at all. There's none, zero. But the sequence with her when they're and him when they're going to get burned at the stake and they come down and they have that chase sequence and they jump off the building for the first time, that is like, yes, like there is stuff in here that would have made a good Assassin's Creed movie. And then we go back to the future and Jeremy Irons is there just like chewing up scenery again, talking about the elders, and I'm falling asleep like Tom was.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I on one hand, I like kind of respected the action sequence because it got to a point where like the action was going and there were like there's some well choreographed stuff. I like the sneaking up on rooftops and jumping down and they're spreading their arms like assassins do, and it's like it's really goofy fun. And it's
Leap of
cool
Faith
that
is
like
cool.
the Leap of Faith is a good set piece. And like I respected the fact it reminded me. I can't believe I'm saying this. It reminded me of like Mission Impossible 6.
You stop.
With the
Don't compare this to
No.
Mission Impossible, sir.
Only in the way that there's one action sequence in the movie where Tom Cruise like he gets on a bike and like you think the action sequence is over, he gets hit like off his bike, but then he keeps going. Like he gets back on the bike and the action sequence keeps going. I felt that similar to it here where I was like, oh, the action scene's done, we're done. But then it like kept going and I was still kind of engaged. Having said that, though, it goes back to the point of like you don't get a lot from Aguilar and his female assassin compatriot. I'm not sure what her name was.
I think her name's Maria.
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah. And it's not Marion Cotillard, it's someone else.
It's not okay.
Yeah, Ariane Lebed apparently is who plays her. But I just don't care about these characters. I feel like they have no like. There's no chemistry between them. There's no charisma. I feel like in the games with like Ezio makes such an impression right from the get-go in that game, or even like Edward Kenway in Black Flag. Like there's so much. You don't have to make these assassins like these stoic, like characters. I feel like they could have had a lot more fun with it. But there's not even really any opportunity to do that because you have no time at all because it is just action in these sequences. So there's like no breathing room at all.
And on the other side of that is Michael Fassbender's character in the present day, who just does nothing. He gives nothing. And I like Michael Fassbender as an actor. I don't think this was like his best role. But if I try and sit there and think about what Cal did, he was just kind of angry all the time. And I guess there was something that I missed at the beginning of the movie, which I had to read about. But basically, he is arrested and put in prison for killing someone. Like he's on death's row, and then he gets like plucked from Abstergo. And I'm like, you want us to sympathize with a killer? Like there's no reasoning given about what he did or why. And then I was reading on Reddit, apparently there's a novelization of the movie. And in the novel, it explains that he killed someone because the person was like beating up women or something like that. And that triggered him because he didn't like seeing like women getting beaten up after his mum was killed by an assassin. And I was like, that would have been really useful information to have in the movie, because I was just like, why am I sympathizing with this guy? He's a murderer.
Yeah, I think that Michael Fassbender as an actor is amazing. I love Michael Fassbender. I think that there is even a world in which Michael Fassbender as the lead of an Assassin's Creed movie would be awesome. This is not the one we got. I think he's like, he does cool stuff when he is the assassin, but Cal, and it just is unbearable. He spends most of the time just like punching shadows and just like being like my mom died and I'm really sad about it. And the killer note was something I was going to bring up. The beginning of this movie is just so like, they want you to be on his side. They immediately put you in his eyes. We open with like literally an opening crawl explaining everything Assassin's Creed, just right here. Okay, now we're in the past. Cool. And then we're gonna cut with this eagle. Electric guitars are gonna come in. I'm gonna be very confused why there's electric guitars playing in the 1600s. And then it's like, now guys, guess what? It's the Assassin's Creed movie. There's parkour, and you are with Cal, and he's doing parkour, and he's running, and mom dies, and everything. And I like, okay, I see why right away the modern day stuff. We're setting it with him. We're learning his tragic backstory, whatever. But then what do? We immediately cut, and he's literally about to get the electric chair. And you're like, how did we get here? Who is this man? Why do I care about him? What has he done in the last? It's not like his mom just died, and we just saw that character like kind of deal with this. Like that was they say a date, like it was like 30 years ago at this point. This man's lived an entire life, and now we're expected to, like, he goes on this quote unquote sympathetic journey where he gets taken advantage of by this mega corporation and like finds a new meaning, finds a new like light to push him forward in being an assassin. And you just from the get-go are immediately like, it's hard to feel sympathetic about a character who's going on a sympathetic journey when you just don't care.
It's like they tried to do one twist too many for like an audience that didn't know anything about it. It's like, this guy is going to be like our window into the assassins, but actually he wants revenge on the assassins because the assassins killed his mum. I'm like, it could have just been easier to have him be sympathetic towards the assassins. Okay, they're like the good guys, I suppose. He's already like has the capability to be a killer. That's quite interesting to understand why he killed someone, what he unlocks by going back in the past and like learning about his assassin heritage. But instead they were like, no, he just wants to take them down. He hates the assassins. I could have seen a world where it's like, actually, it was a twist that he thought the assassins, he thought that the like Templars killed his mom, but actually it was the assassins. And then that's a cool twist that he has to reckon with. But none of that happened.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't even like what even did happen.
Well, they were looking for the apple. They found it in the past, and then they're like, okay, we got to go to Christopher Columbus's grave, so we're gonna go there. And I thought the movie was gonna end there. No, now we've got to go to some weird auction house. He's gonna kill Jeremy Irons. Marion Cotillard is going to give the Oppenheimer line. She's going to look at Jeremy Irons in the face and say, "I've become whatever." Oh my god. They thought when they were writing this stuff down, you could tell it was like the meme where like the paper's on fire. Like they're like, this is it. We're cooking. Like we got this. Yeah. There's just you said like one too many twists, one too many everything. Like we didn't need this prison rebellion storyline at all. At all. I don't care about any of these characters, even though my guy Michael K. Williams from The Wire is in there. He shows up and he's the fresh buck in town, and they're like, oh, we don't like him. But then like by the end, I don't care. I don't need it.
Why?
I know, right? I don't need it at all. There's a reason that the Abstergo stuff in the games has just like, I remember when I played Black Flag for the first time coming off of Assassin's Creed 3, and it's like, oh, like we're literally going to get like a couple text messages, and then it's like, now you're a pirate. Like, cool. Like that's why I'm here.
Yeah. I feel like they could have, especially with the Abstergo, like that whole subplot, like the reason why I feel like, especially in the early games, why at least the Abstergo stuff kind of worked is because it was a little bit more mysterious. You didn't have these other like test subjects that you were seeing. It was just Desmond and like I can't remember the person that looks after you, but like, it's just really that. And if you just kind of framed it from that perspective, I think you could get a lot more nuance and a lot more interesting like dialogue. Having said that, though, like the conversations that Marion Cotillard and Michael Fassbender do have in this movie, it just aren't very interesting at all and don't really go anywhere. But I think that framing at least would like increase the tension a little bit. Like Michael Fassbender wakes up in this world and he's like, what the hell? I'm in this completely white facility, no one's around. I have to go back in the past and learn about my ancestor. Like I feel like it just, the whole framing of it is wrong. It's just completely wrong. And back to back quickly to the point of like Cal as a character, I just feel like you can make like unlikable dudes, like, you know, and make them sympathetic and explore them. Like one of the best shows of all time is Breaking Bad, and people love that show and they love how that kind of explores Walter White and impacts him. But with Michael Fassbender, they have literally one line in the movie where he gets asked about why he killed the person, and he's just like, he was a pimp, and we get no other kind of expanding on that other than, like you said, Lauren, that novelization, I guess, which does delve a bit more,
We didn't do
which
our
is
homework,
crazy.
is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
I guess not. But yeah, it's just frustrating, like that they've decided to make the movie this way.
Yeah. I think it's funny because like we've seen Michael Fassbender play like truly evil people that you can sympathize with. Like this man
Yeah.
played Magneto, who is like
Mhm.
is a killer, has done some terrible things, but you care about why he's doing it. He was in The Killer a couple years ago, where he's literally that's all he does. He's a hitman, and he
I think that's
messes
what
up
they
that.
were going for. They
Yes, that is
wanted they
exactly
wanted
what they're
that
going
from him,
for.
and the writing just did not hold up. His story arc did not. It just did not hold up. So that's frustrating. I want to bring up just like the visuals. This movie is just so bland. Like my favorite Assassin's Creed games are ones like Black Flag or Odyssey, or even the one 2 or 3, where it's like you get to like you climb a tall building, you look around and like the ocean is so vibrant, the colors are so bright and popping. You just feel like this is so cool. It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm there. Why would you wash it out completely?
It's
Like I know
so
that they're
gray.
going into the Animus and it's like potentially meant to have a bit of like a dreamy kind of effect, but it honestly it felt just added to the sort of like slowness and grayness of it all. I just left feeling like when I think about it in my mind, it's just all like black and white.
It felt like the Assassin's Creed franchise, like they made this movie after the first game. Like, I remember the marketing for
Mm,
that first game, that first like, everything is, like, got this, yeah, super washed out, kinda gray, that 2006, like, we're
yeah.
gritty because we have no color, and they immediately moved past that. In Assassin's Creed 2, you start to get these, like, pops of orange and red and the blue sky, and, like, it starts to become a little more vibrant, and yeah, you're doing these, like, quote, unquote, "gritty things" by stabbing people in the neck, but, like, this movie to me felt like the franchise from the beginning. Like it felt like Assassin's Creed 1, whereas I think it has gotten a lot better since then, and it wasn't made then. It was made almost 10 years after that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like the way this movie looks is just a symptom of like how movies at the time looked. Like in 2016, like this was the year of like your Batman v Supermans, your Man of Steel's, like just
There's
this washed
color
out
in
color
Batman vs
grading.
Superman though. Like Man of Steel is like
A little
a
bit.
fairly gray movie. Batman vs Superman is like pretty like it's pretty vibrant.
Yeah, I guess like, and this is the only compliment I'll give Batman v Superman. We're not talking about that movie, but it does have at least a color identity. But this does not. It is just like this gray, like horrible thing to look at,
Like
which
the
is a shame because
2016 is
like,
also like Civil War
yeah,
and
true,
Deadpool, which like
yeah.
I don't know if I agree with you that this is like the sign of the times. Like this feels like a movie from 10 years before this.
Yeah, but even then, like Civil War, people complain about the color grading of that. Like we're not getting into the color
Yeah.
grading, whatever. But my point is like they have so many cool locations that they do show in the movie, but yeah, they just look awful. They present them like terribly on screen, which is a shame because like you can do so much with this, but they just chose not to, I guess.
So here's another thing. I'm quite familiar with Justin Kurzel. He's an Australian director. He's often upheld as like one of our big sort of directors. He's made a lot of great stuff. He did this film called Snowtown, which was like a really uh, it was a gritty crime movie, and it was an Indian. It kind of just blew everybody away at the time, and he was like the next big thing. He went off and did Macbeth, another massive success for him. And I feel like potentially what happened is they're like, "You're ready for prime time. You should do a big studio film." And so maybe he wanted to do Assassin's Creed. Maybe it was handed to him. Whatever. And I think elements of his directing style and his expertise worked in this. Like the action is quite good. Um, I think there are elements of that darker storyline in terms of like the themes of killing and death and revenge and things like that weren't fully executed. And it just feels like potentially the studio came in, had some notes, chopped and changed things. Also, in my research on Reddit, I heard that there was apparently not an extended cut of the film, but the original cut was like 2.5 hours, and this is closer to 90 minutes. So there could be like a wealth of stuff that was cut that could dramatically change what happened with it. But that does feel like potentially what would happen, because since then he's gone and done another bunch of really great movies. Like True History of the Kelly Gang was quite big back in Australia. Nitram was another one where it was like about this guy, I think, who, I don't know, killed a bunch of people in his family. It was like this really deep psychological study. So that's clearly his expertise, and I could see where they were going with hiring him and potentially what he could have brought to this movie, which would have been really interesting. It's just not what we got.
Yeah, I think
go ahead, Tom.
No, I was going to say, like, if that is true that there was like a longer cut of this movie, to like Klein's point of there is a way, I feel like that there is a way to make the Abstergo and past stuff work, because if you're flipping behind them or between them, sorry, in a longer movie, maybe that is divvied up a little bit better, and you get more of those like emotional scenes in the past and how that informs the modern day stuff. You see that in like, gonna make another weird comparison here, like Arrow, the show, the CW show, like there's a bunch of flashback stuff that informs the stuff in the modern day with Stephen Amell's character, and that they could have done a similar thing with it. I would obviously preferred like if it was just the past stuff, but I do see a universe where that form of storytelling works. But yeah, I guess maybe it just wasn't afforded that because of the runtime.
Yeah, the other like minor thing that I was going to mention on that front is like, I would love to see what even an R-rated cut of this movie would look like, because like the stuff that does work in this is the action, but most of the action, like he's stabbing people and slicing people's necks, and you're hearing the knife go into the flesh, and it's just like it's intense, and like there's no blood, there's nothing, and I'm not sitting here being like, oh man, I need to see like heads fall off, but it does like kind of take me out of it a little bit when he is putting his blade through somebody's neck and just like nothing kind of happens. Like I feel like it's not super satisfying, and like the action like it's then like pulled back a little bit because I'm sitting there going, oh, this isn't a real world. Like these are performers. This is a movie I'm watching. I'm not like actually existing here.
Yeah, I think so. Like one of the big things about the games is the kills, and like they are super satisfying to pull off. And yeah, there's definitely something taken away when it's not like fully realized if you're not going to give it an R rating. So yeah, I definitely agree though.
If you did this again, like I think you would probably, number one priority should be more than half of the movie should take place in the past. I think that it should be the future kind of informing the past as opposed to the past informing the future. And I know that we've seen it 100 times. I would have liked to have seen like an assassin's origins in this, as opposed to like, I guess we kind of got that in the present day, but like jumping in and having this assassin like already established, it did kind of, I felt like I was being robbed. Like some of my favorite moments of the Assassin's Creed games are like Connor in Assassin's Creed 3, like getting his own unique like blade for the first time and discovering the creed, and that's where and that's what like Assassin's Creed 2, like Ezio doing that sort of thing, and like Bayek in Origins essentially like founding the creed. And it's like I think that there just wasn't enough assassinating, and so a easy way to do that is like kind of recounting the origins of how somebody joins the creed, if we were to redo this over again.
Yeah, I think like an Assassin's Creed movie, if I'm thinking of what would kind of adapt the video game, it should be like a historical period action adventure piece. It should be something like, I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean, or like Gladiator, or something like, take us back into this time period. But instead what we got is that they kind of tried to make it like a sci-fi psychological crime thriller kind of thing, which again I think is what like Justin Kurzel was brought on for, because that's kind of his niche. But really they needed somebody, I think they needed like someone who's like, I'm going to sit here and make a blockbuster with this story, and yeah, like take us into the world of the assassins, like give us their trials and tribulations, like as if we're playing them in the game essentially. But they are making this again. They're doing a TV show, so I'm just sort of interested to see how that pans out. Like a TV show, I'm not even sure if that's even. I don't know if we need another film after this one, but is the TV show the right format? I don't even know.
Live action, or do we know?
I think there might even be both, but I think it's live action.
Yeah.
Let me check this while Tom talks.
Well, the only reason I could see like why they would limit the past stuff in this movie is because it's like expensive. Like it's expensive to do like a whole movie in like a period thing. Like they have to do all the set dressing and costuming and all this different stuff. So applying that to like a TV show budget, I just don't see. I guess there are period shows that manage to pull it off, but the budget is going to have to balloon if they want to pull that off like appropriately. So yeah, I just do worry that it's going to be the same thing again, where it's just a lot of modern day stuff and not a lot of interesting things going on. Yeah.
So there's a live action Assassin's Creed series coming to Netflix, but the deal also included multiple series. One was this live action epic, and the other was animated and anime adaptations. So it seems like we're getting it all.
Just everything we could ever want. Live action, anime, and animated. It's funny looking at this movie through the lens of Ubisoft, and like they've really done two like big budget blockbusters, and one was Prince of Persia before this, which was very much like, I mean, I haven't seen it, but as far as I can tell, was what you just described, Lauren. Like the producers of Pirates of the Caribbean were behind it, and it's going to take place in this like quote unquote historical, like it is fictionalized, but period piece sort of thing. And that movie kind of fell flat on its face as well. And so I guess when this movie is getting developed, are they out there thinking like, oh, we don't want to like repeat the mistakes of the Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia movie. We want to make it like basically go and do the opposite. Like it won't be colorful. We're going to set it mostly in the future. I don't know. Also, did we get the theme? We didn't get the theme. It's got one of the best themes in game, and we didn't get it. I kept waiting for it.
Yeah, the music is so, like you said, it opens with like a electric guitar.
It's like Jack White. Like what's happening right now?
It's crazy. Yeah, the fact that they don't use that.
I thought Wonder Woman was going to show up for a second when the electric guitar showed up.
Oh man, I mean, like even Uncharted, like did the music a little bit. Like I guess this is that period, but that's the thing as well. Like there are some things where I feel like this does adapt like a lot of the iconography of like Assassin's Creed. Like you have that speech like that is iconic to the games. You have like the leap of faith. You have like the hidden blade and all this stuff. But yeah, there's other things they just don't want to commit to, I guess. Which is a shame.
They just expanded on, like they adapted the wrong parts of it. Mm-hmm. They spent too much time on the parts that players don't actually enjoy. Maybe to try and give them some credence. I'm not sure, but it just. Yeah, it didn't really work. And I mean, I can't even remember back in 2016 what they were kind of marketing it as. Were they marketing it as like, this is like a corner of the Assassin's Creed world that, isn't like the games or something like that? Or were they saying, no, this is like a new Assassin story. It's going to be like playing the games? Because I would say they definitely did not live up to that, if that is the thing that they were running with.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I would like... I when I started watching this movie and I hadn't seen it, people kept popping up and I was like, Michael Fassbender, like, okay, yeah, like I knew he was in. I didn't know Marion Cotillard was in it. She shows up. I like her. Awesome. Jeremy Irons. Like there's so many people, and I'm like, I was thinking like, this can't, like, with all this talent, there's no way that this is as bad as people like. But it ultimately just kind of came. It's just boring, and that's not what you want your Assassin's Creed movie to be. Like I don't know if it does anything like it's not like the VFX or like look like terrible, or like I think there's some decent stuff in it, but it just is just so like blech that it ends up being like worse than I think a movie that had like some damning features but was like overall good.
Yeah.
Look, it happens. Like movie making is not a fine art. Things may have been set out differently in the script and didn't come to fruition at some point in the process when the actors sign on. They might have had a different idea of what it was going to be. things may have had to be cut because of shooting schedules and all that. Like a lot of things change that can affect the outcome of a film, and so that's possibly just what happened here.
Do you think with the ending here, do you think that was like we're setting up the Assassin's Creed cinematic universe? Because that's kind of what it felt like.
I think there was plans to do sequels.
Okay.
Yeah, I think definitely.
I would have been
they
interested to see how much history, like going into the past, those would include. Because the way it feels is like, oh no, we're doing the Assassin's Creed, we're doing future Assassin's Creed, we're doing present day. These guys are just in 2016 London. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like.
And we've
That's what
talked about that. Like, we have done an episode, I think, where we drafted, or not drafted, like pitched our dream Assassin's Creed time periods or whatever. And I'm pretty sure at some point we talked about them doing one in the present or in the future. It's a cool idea. Like, cyberpunk style Assassin's Creed is a cool idea. But then they just, like, that's not what this was. This was like towing the line between trying to adapt one historical period, doing it kind of badly, and then just setting it in this bland building.
Yeah. Big building with white gray hallways.
Pretty much.
Anything else?
Yeah.
You want to give this a rating?
The only thing I want to quickly say is that, yeah, speaking of wasted talent, like you were kind of saying, Klein, like I didn't know Brendan Gleeson was in the movie, so when he showed up as his dad, I was like, it was almost like a Marvel cameo for me. I was like, oh my god, like the guy from Banshees of Inisherin's here. Is he gonna say he doesn't like him no more? Like, what's going on with this? Crazy. But yeah, rough. In terms of ranking or rating, this thing probably gonna give it like a 1.5 out of 5. Just because, like, I don't have any urge to rewatch this movie. I've seen worse, but I've definitely seen better.
It just dawned on me when just now we talked about Batman vs Superman. I wonder if there's a worse year for an actor. Jeremy Irons was in both this and Batman vs Superman.
Oh dear.
But he would have been paid great.
Oh yeah, I know,
Good.
dude. Like what is the Harrison Ford? Why do you keep doing this? Because of the money.
Honestly,
Yeah.
sometimes movies are paychecks. Get paid.
Yep.
Do it. Do what you
Yeah,
need to do.
It's your job. Lauren, what would you give this on a 5-star?
I think I'm with Tom. I'm gonna go 1.5, which I think and hope is more than I gave Borderlands, but I'll have to check.
I think I'm giving it a 1. I don't know where the missing 1/2 is. It just, the minute this ended, I'm like, this feels like a 1-star movie. Borderlands was definitely a half.
Borderlands was painful to watch. This was just boring to watch.
Oh my goodness. Poor Kate Blanchett. She deserves so much better. Lydia Tarr would never. What did you think of Assassin's Creed, the movie? If you watched along or have seen it before, we'd love to hear. You can let us know over on social media. You can also let us know what you've been playing. And let's talk about what we've been playing over the last week or so. Does anyone want to start? I feel like it's been a lot of book club games for us here in the month of March. Tom, it's been Prince of Persia for you?
Just Prince of Persia, yeah. I'm still enjoying my time with it. Yeah, again, I don't want to say too much with it, but yeah, it's a fun time. I've just been putting my hours in, basically. So yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but it's coming to PlayStation Plus, I think this week.
Oh, I mean, I bought it like over a year ago. So
okay,
but yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
Lauren, if you've just been doing Balatro for not Game Pass, for New Game Plus.
Yeah, I'm deep on the Balatro train. It was my companion while I was watching this movie. And still going through a Split Fiction, but I just haven't played since we last spoke, so I'll give an update on that next time. I'm planning to play a lot more this weekend.
Okay, I have an interesting little twist. Other than my continued addiction to Picross, it is bad. I sat on the couch for like 3 hours yesterday and just did these dumb little puzzles. I made an onion. I made a Goomba. It's great. It's just fantastic. This past week, on the hype of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 remaster getting just announced and me living my best life, was like, I want to play GameCube again. How can I do this? How can I figure out a way? I figured out a way. And I've been playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, and it's so good. I've been playing some SSX. I've been playing, I just started Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. It's great. It's fantastic.
Can you say the method in which you did this, or is it not?
Allegedly, there may be ways to play these games and make them look a lot better than they did on the GameCube, like maybe 104 or 120 frames per second in 4K. and that is exactly how Legend of Zelda Wind Waker should be played. I'm playing these games, Tom, and I'm looking at them going like, man, the Switch could never.
Oh no, poor Switch. Yeah, that's exciting. I've definitely been wanting to dip my toes into like not retro games, I guess, but games that I played like years ago. And I have my 3DS. I'm holding up for the
No
YouTube
way.
watchers here.
That's like an OG 3DS.
Yeah, this used to be my sister's, and then it became mine. And this is why I played all my Pokemon games on. But I've just been getting the urge to like play those old kind of handheld games. So, I think I'm gonna dip my toes into that too. So, and maybe could always bust out the Wii U, give that whole thing a try. But it's always fun to go back to old consoles and try those old games out again.
They make it so hard to, but
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
yeah, it's been especially reliving like SSX, which is a franchise I haven't thought about in so long, but loved. And was playing them like this is like we genuinely don't get games like this anymore. Like it's just like it's such an encompassing feeling. I think the Tony Hawk franchise does this as well. It's just so like it's not just like the game. Like the game is so good and plays so well, but it's like just like I don't know, the culture surrounding it. Like it's like it sounds pretentious, but it invokes like this like mood. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, I've been doing that and then a lot of metaphor, trying to continue to play. It's not going to get finished before we have to talk about it. There's no way. It's not happening.
The
So
one time Quan doesn't finish a game on the
I'm like
podcast.
35 hours in and I'm like I feel like I'm at the end. And I looked and I'm not anywhere close. So we'll
It's
see what
broken.
happens. Maybe I get 60 hours somewhere between now and the end of March and we make it happen. But if you want to let us know about what we've been playing, what you've been playing, our New Game Plus video game book club, you totally can do so. We are on Twitter over on at controller_club, at controller club pod on Instagram and Blue Sky, and at controller.club on TikTok. For this month, as we mentioned, we are playing for our New Game Plus, a video game book club, our 2024 hindsight games. They're games that we missed last year that we wish we'd gotten around to playing. Tom is playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I am playing Metaphor Refantasio, and Lauren is playing Balatro. Also on social media, you can leave us comments. You can tell us what you think about the show. We usually ask a question at the end of the show. You can let us know your answers. Last week, we asked, what is the game you are most hyped for our 2024 gaming hype draft that we did last week? Tom, let's jump into the comment corner. Do we get any comments? Did anyone answer what they're most excited for next year? Or this year, I guess.
Yeah, let me bring up the comments just quickly right here. Yeah, we got one comment here responding to that question from Ryan Cortero from Asian Fandom, and he said, outside of the obvious answer of choosing GTA 6 as my most hyped video game this year, my second choice is Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. I know I haven't seen gameplay yet, but I have faith it could be great. Pokemon Legends ZA was my initial second choice, but the look and gameplay brought it down. Unfortunately, I was hoping it'd have a similar look to Arceus, which is fair enough. Hopefully, another trailer comes along and wins you back over, Ryan. But I also do want to shout out some other comments we got, because we, couple weeks ago at this point, I had some set photos given to me by my friend Beth for Return to Silent Hill, and we made a video about it. I mean, for some reason, this video keeps doing well. Like we're at what 3.5k views now, which is great. I'm glad people are watching the video. Just some quick comments I wanted to shout out here. First one here is from, I want to say this says at Billy Badass, and
Nice.
they say, I haven't heard anything about this movie for this video and just was looking up Silent Hill lore and streams for cozy background noise out of the blue. Synchronicities all week. I think it's a good thing, lol. Well, I'm glad you found the video. That's really kindly left a comment. And just one other quick one here from at nameless_rambler, who says there was a recent Gans interview, so the guy who directed the movie, Christopher Gans, where he talks about the film about 7 minutes in, mentioning that Akira Yamaoka was emotionally moved when he saw the cut. Highly recommend. So Akira Yamaoka is the composer for Silent Hill. And so that's kind of potentially reassuring for the movie's quality. I don't know, we'll see. But they linked to the YouTube video in the comment there. So if you want to check that video out as well, go to our video, leave it a like, and then go down to that comment and check out that video too. But yeah, thank you for all your comments this week, and yeah, keep them coming.
Oh, awesome. I mentioned last week we did the 2025 gaming hype draft. I was with our good friend Brad Shankar from Mobile Syrup, and we put up a poll. We each assembled teams of games that we're most excited about here in 2025. I have the Twitter results. I don't know, Lauren, do you have the Instagram results ready? Once Blue Sky adds polls, it's going to be a game changer. This is going to completely change the way we do polls, but they haven't put that one in there. Do you have the results ready for who won on your
Yes.
end?
So we had in the lead, my team with 40% of the vote. Klein's team came in second with 30% of the vote. Tom's team came in third with 20% of the vote. And then Brad's team came in fourth with 10% of the vote. So thank you to everyone who voted.
Lauren won over there, and Lauren won on Twitter as well. So congratulations, Lauren. Lauren, you had 66% of the vote over on Twitter. Tom had 0.
Oh.
Tom, you didn't even vote for yourself? Come on.
I didn't want to skew the votes. I didn't want to skew the votes, man. What the hell?
Well, you gotta
and
fight
then-
dirty when it's with us.
Yeah, I had 17% and Brad had 17%. So yeah, Lauren, congratulations. Round of applause to Lauren winning the 2025 Gaming Hype Draft. But you know what? If all these things come out and are great, we're all winners. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true. I still expect a fight to the death between the three of you, though.
Okay, we'll make it
Okay. For next week, what we want is on social media, on YouTube, on this video, over on Spotify. I want you to leave a comment and let us know. Answer this question: how excited are you for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and what is one place you want the franchise to go next? Let us know. YouTube, social media, Instagram, the whole thing. If you want to send us an email, you can totally do that as well. That's controllerclubpod@gmail.com. And as always, do all the interactions. Hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, go into, I don't know, go tell your mom about us. Getting the word out really helps, you know. Tom, if people wanted to find you online, where could they do that?
You can find me at Tom Druart, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, basically everywhere. Again, still not got much going on. Follow my letterbox at Tomtastic. I watched Anora this past week, which was remarkably a better movie than Assassin's Creed was. So you can see how much more I like that movie. Go into my letterbox at Tomtastic.
I mean, that'd be an interesting double feature. Both films about, being taken advantage of, the systems, class.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's definitely some crossover. Should be a cool
Only
assassin.
one
I
has
think.
Oscars.
Yeah, only one of them does have Oscars. Mickey Madsen would be a fantastic assassin alongside Michael Fassbender. Lauren, where can people keep up with you, and do you have anything exciting going on?
You can follow me at lrouse19 on socials, mostly Blue Sky and TikTok. Not that I've posted anything recently, but that is where I am.
Excellent. You can keep up with me everywhere. I'm at the Kleinfeld, TheKleinFelt, mostly Blue Sky, Letterboxd, Instagram. And you can keep up with all of us over at thedirect.com, where we're writing, putting out content each and every day. But that's not why you're here. You're here to listen to Controller Club. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Controller Club. As always, do the whole things. I forgot to say review us. Leave us a review as well. 5 stars. It helps out. Thank you for listening. Now, let's get gaming.